Buongiorno or buonasera a tutti, depending on when you're listening to this. Sono la professoressa Santi. I am your child's Italian 3 teacher. I'm going to talk a little bit about myself and then I'm going to explain the course. But because I am Italian, I'm going to talk a lot with my hands, fast, and probably for a long time. So feel free to fast forward this to go to whatever you need to listen to for this part of the presentation. I grew up going to Italy a lot, back and forth between Italy and America because my grandparents lived there and I would visit them a lot. So I'd go to my grandparents' farm in southern Italy in Avellino, that's near Naples. And we'd visit every single summer. I spoke the language, spoke the dialect, learned the way of life, and fell in love with it so much that I studied abroad and decided to live there for about 6 to 7 years. This time, though, I went to the northern part of Italy because I wanted to see the difference. I wanted to see what life was like up north and compare it to the south. And I learned that it is a lot different. Besides the language, which their dialect is completely different from the southern dialect, but even the way of life, their buildings, the architecture, everything. And that's what I wanted to bring back to the students. And that's what I am sharing with the students. Just the differences between the north and south of Italy and steer them away from these stereotypes that we might have of all Italians here in the US. And to have them understand that, not everyone's going to eat spaghetti and sauce with meatballs. In fact, meatballs isn't even Italian, it's more Italian American, and have them understand all of these exciting things about the language. It's important when learning another language to understand the culture as well. And that's, especially nowadays, it's more important than ever to be empathetic and to understand that maybe our way of doing things isn't the only way, not necessarily right or wrong, but there's other ways of doing things in other parts of the world. There's different types of school systems, and I'll explain their schooling in Italy, what it's like and how it's different and how they're kind of lucky that their schooling is a lot easier over here than it is over there. And also, what their meals are like, when are they having their meals, what time, what foods might they eat compared to us, what even their houses look like compared to ours. Do they have built-in closets, whereas like we do, or do they have wardrobes in Italy? So again, all of these little things is going to help them to understand why they're learning this foreign language. With that being said, I understand that we're in a delicate, unique situation right now. So the students that are at home learning virtually full time or part time and then coming in the next day, I'm holding them all responsible and accountable for everything that we're going over. It's very difficult because the distractions at home are a lot. They can be easily swayed to watching TV instead of paying attention, but we want to make sure that they aren't. So by me having assignments due in certain times, having them submit assignments, and holding them responsible for whatever is being done while they're virtual or in the classroom is a way for making them accountable of their learning and a way of them creating this intrinsic motivation for them to stay motivated and wanting and willing to learn. That inside motivation where, usually I would have them have a reward system with tickets that they're able to, win something. Now we have to kind of make their own internal motivation throughout this year. But they're resilient. The students are. You have to see them in class. The adults complain more. Here they are with their masks, with their shields, walking around like no problem. So they're definitely doing well in school. But again, it's not to say that internally it's affecting them, and I'm sure it is. And in fact, I know there's a higher level of anxiety in the classroom. I know that it's going to affect their learning in a way, which is why I'm making sure that first and foremost, they need to feel comfortable in the classroom. They need to feel comfortable and willing to learn, because with that comes learning. With that comes the growth of learning a language and wanting to learn. So that, again, is one of my goals for this year. With that being said, I'm holding them accountable for understanding it and learning while they're at home. I understand that they may not get a specific topic or a grammar point or just need extra help. I do offer extra help Wednesday mornings at 6:45. It has to all be done virtually up until who knows, maybe when they'll decide that we can have in class extra help. But for now, it's virtual and it's through their Google Meet. I am going to ask them to email me though, in case if they do want to meet, so I can know to set up the virtual meet. With that being said, though, if they are not paying attention while they're at home or even in class, and then think that they can come to the extra help just to kind of get a review of everything, it's not going to work for them. And extra help isn't for that. It's for students that, maybe I went through something a little bit too fast for them, or I didn't do it in their learning style. That's what extra help is for. So we want to make sure that students are aware of that so they don't think that they're not going to pay attention when they are at home. I'm going to go through what our Google Classroom looks like. So here's our stream for Italian 3 period 9. Here are what I usually post in case if I have just something fun to talk about or something interactive with all of my students. Like, for example, now I used to say in the past, like, who was your favorite, like, actor or actress? I don't think they know actors or actresses anymore. So now it's like, who's your favorite YouTuber or influencer or celebrity? So those are, and in fact, they were giving me some examples of that and writing about them. What I am really grading, though, is the classwork. The classwork is where all of the information that's going to be submitted and given to them to complete is going to take place. So I tried to break it up in topics. The first topic is classroom resources. So here you're going to have a little extra help, which might be another alternate for them. I made a video for some students that were having a little bit of trouble for essere and the verb and how to conjugate it. Instead of meeting me for extra help, with some students said, oh no, I don't know if I can make it. I said, you know what? I'm going to make an extra video for you that's accessible to everybody. So whoever feels like they need extra help on the verb essere can access it and look through it. So again, this goes through it to help them out to see if they understand the verb. And if they still have questions, by all means, have them email me. Again, I did another video on the numbers, days, and months review in case if some of them didn't remember how to pronounce certain words. So here's a video of me pronouncing the words and going over it for them. Eventually, we're going to be doing something called Duolingo, where it's extra practice for the students. There's different abilities in this class. Some of the students are doing exceptionally well. Some of the students need a little bit more review, and that's where Duolingo comes in. It challenges the students that need that challenge, and it helps catch up the students that need that little bit of a boost. We will be getting access to this probably next week. So it's, again, something that they can review at home. And speaking of that, I understand that there's different levels in this class. And since this isn't an honors class, it doesn't mean that they won't go into an honors track later on. Some of the students I can already see are willing and motivated and have that, ability and capability and motivation to become an honors student. So who's to say that if their grades are really high and they're motivated, submitting all of their assignments, they can move into, with my recommendation, into an honors class in the future and be able to take even college Italian and get college credit for it by the time that they're a senior. I make Quizlets for them, which is nice because it's like an interactive flashcard website and that also tests them on the vocab. That's been helping for them. I have the units with all of the vocab and questions on the reference, and that'll be updated for every unit that we go through. I have an Italian reference and grammar guide that explains every single grammar point in detail in case if, again, they need that extra help. I have a website that they can click on that kind of goes over the Italian language and Connect-Quat and me and what it's all about. But I also have the course syllabus. And some of them didn't hand this in, so you want to make sure that they hand this in. It goes over what's happening in our classroom in a generalized way. Probably what you're hearing now is even more specific. And all you need to do is just click on this and type in the student's information that you've read this and acknowledge that you have, so they can get credit for the assignment. We also have a virtual classroom. This is where it's a little bit interactive. So I have, if I have a due now, I might post it here. I do have their unit and what we're on posted over here as well. And anything else that we're going over, I have an access to games for them so they could click on it. Word reference, which is what we want them to use. We don't want them to use Google Translate because what comes out of there is not good for them. Even though it's perfect, it's just not helping them with their writing skills. So word reference is a better dictionary for them to use. Duolingo, here's the access to that again, and their song of the week, which is fun because every week we're listening to a different song in Italian, just for fun. And and that's it. Their classwork is what is being graded. And this is holding students accountable whether they're at home or in the classroom to pay attention. So lots of times we'll go over something and I'll say, okay, submit this at the end of class just to see that, okay, you understood it at home and in the classroom. And if they have any questions, or I see too, you know what, the student didn't understand this point, let me go over it. Or the majority of students aren't getting this, that means I need to review it. That's a way for me to see if they're ready for the quizzes and to be assessed on what we're learning in class. They do have homework. Notice it's one little assignment that I've given them because, again, I'm going a little bit easy at the beginning of the year. It's just so they're a little bit more motivated and willing to keep up with the work. And here are some of our quizzes, tests, and projects. So they just had something where they were describing themselves and other people. And here is something that they're working on right now, describing themselves now compared to the past. They're going to be learning the past tense a little bit now, like how do I describe myself now and how can I describe myself in the past tense? So it's a challenge for those students that are great with already all of these expressions that they've been learning in 7th and 8th grade and want to push themselves, but it's also a review for the students that that they don't remember how to describe themselves with essere and avere and those beautiful verbs and all of the beautiful adjectives that are connected to it. So that's what we're working on so far. Any quiz we've done, again, we're on this fine line with students being at home fully and coming in part-time and virtual. How do we assess them fairly? So we came up with a couple of different ways. And a couple of them are these projects where they're writing and filling it in. Another one is quizzes, which is a platform where they can answer questions, whether through a multiple choice or fill in the blank. And it's timed, so I know the students at home are not really going to look up the answers just like the students in class aren't allowed to. So again, these are different ways that we're trying to assess the students. We are going to be using Flipgrid. Flipgrid is for them to be able to practice their speaking. If they don't feel comfortable, there's ways for them to pixelate themselves, blur themselves, so I don't have to see their face. I just need to hear their voice. So it's something that they're going to be working on. I told you I'm Italian. I'm using my hands. I'm talking a lot. If you have any questions, you can email me at gsanti or gsanti@ccsdli.org. I loved parent teacher nights because this is when I got to meet all of your faces and connect them to your children and my students. But you know what? We are going to have a positive mindset and we are going to do the best with what we have. A positive mindset means that that's where growing takes place. And we're going to continue having that throughout this year. We're going to pray that we go back to normal or the best normal that we can have or want sooner than later. And we're going to just, continue working. So again, if you need to email me, it's gsanti@ccsdli.org. And thank you so much. Buonasera a tutti.